The elves are marching to war with full ferocity, charging at the enemy. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another online battle. This time we are at the Dead Marshes as the forces of good and evil from Middle-earth collide in one epic scale battle. On the left hand side we do have the forces of evil, however they are not alone as we have this Gondorian force using the awesome mob that adds in all the different fiefs of Gondor. They look really cool in their green and they're going to be kind of holding up the right hand side. In the center we have the forces of the Easterlings pushing up in their wealth, sorry, all the way over here. Yeah, we have the Easterlings with their elite shock infantry, awesome looking soldiers moving in. And then on the extreme left we have an army of Dunlingdones, and again they have some pretty heavy armored infantry. These are from the Last Breath submod, so again just some additional armor. They also have these pretty like ferocious wolf cavalry horse killers. I don't know, they're really good, so trust me on that. So the elves of Rivendell are here and again ready to fight with their high quality. We also have the forces of the East, Dorino right here, again kind of backing up their elven allies. Quite a nice little bit of lore friendly stuff right there, as this armor itself is made by the elves. And then finally on the extreme flank, kind of batting for the Gondorians, but on the good side we do have the forces of Dol Amroth. Again, some really nice additional units with the Last Breath submod. I love these Brigandines. I think they look so good and have that little bit of extra flavor to the Dol Amroth roster. So yeah, I'm a big fan of these units. So again, we can expect heavy pikes, lots of heavy infantry, and of course the famous knights led by Prince Imrahil himself pushing forward. Look at this sergeant's armor as well, looks absolutely incredible. Elves are doing though what they do best, firing off some warning shots, and they've received a couple kills so far. Using up that ammunition is always going to be deadly, but to be honest, every kill they get in on this cavalry is going to be good. These are pretty expensive horse archers. So far, they've only managed to pick off one or two units from that. However, the other ones are also going to be getting hit pretty hard. And again, this is just mainly a harassment force because these elves are also extremely strong actually in melee. So one of the great things about the Elven cavalry is you can kind of skirmish, weaken down the enemy, and then charge into melee combat, and they'll do just as good. We take a look at the battlefield, and this is always one of the more interesting battlefields because of all the impassable terrain. We have like these big swamp areas in the center of a battlefield, and it does look like both sides are kind of going two very different ways. It seems like the forces in the center of Dorino and of course the elves are really pushing this left flank hard. However, they are sending over some of their cavalry from Dol Amroth cavalry is now coming back to resupport their flank. And then over on this side, it seems like Dol Amroth are going to be really trying to hold a defensive posture whilst these forces push. And then it does seem like kind of the opposite is happening now. These forces are collapsing in on themselves, and then they're kind of committing more soldiers around this right hand side. So kind of opposing ideologies as the elves going for another line of skirmish, able to fire off some shots and then pull back off. I'm really surprised we're not seeing either side commit their forces. I guess it's almost like these guys on the left are really just allowing the evil forces to get into position to prepare themselves to assault this, because yeah, they're sitting back. They really need to put a lot of pressure. Obviously there's a lot of cavalry here from the Gondorians, but the Elven cavalry is slightly better than them, or is better than them, even if they are outnumbered. And the archer fire is now coming in, and the horses need to be very careful because as you can see, that does take a lot of damage, and every unit that they kill is going to be huge for the cavalry charges. But ideally they just need to collapse in here and try and surround this force, wipe it out, as maybe Dol Amroth just slowly backs off bit by bit. This does a bit of like a fighting retreat, and the slower they are, the worse it's going to be, because more and more of the Eastern cavalry can now make their way over. Obviously utilizing all of these archers is going to be paramount, because again the Elven archers able just to fire off their ammunition so quickly. And here we go, we're about to receive a pretty gnarly volley. Firing, maneuvering, you love to see it. The main pike line of the elves pushing up, and this is the thing, the Elven line is elite, but it's very immobile. These 4 units of pikes are going to be, you know, if they get stuck in, they're going to slaughter. But the problem is, you know, they're going to be outmaneuvered quite quickly as more and more of the Elven cavalry comes over here to deal with the horse archers of the Eastlings, which is a nice addition, right? The horse archers can output some decent damage of their own, and again with that shield it gives them a little bit of a bonus, which is always a nice help. But yeah, there's just a mass amount of cavalry. They really need to use this against the elves to try and get around the side, as there isn't really that much cavalry over here. Ideally you almost want to commit on this and just try and utilize that cavalry, because it's 6 versus like 9 units of horses. However, staying at range is just not going to be good. You can already start to see one of the crossbowman units have been demolished, and the archers and of course the crossbows from Dorino are going to just start opening up soon. And that's going to force them forward. And I think that's why we're seeing more and more of the Eastlings pushing forward. A huge flank right here with all that cavalry trying to get around the side. But you can see Dawnless is just doing exactly what they need to do. Hold the line here. Keep kind of these forces at bay. And unless they push, like, this force is going to be just slaughtered through archers. Now they're pushing up some more. I think the infantry fight is about to begin, and it is not looking good for the forces of evil. Okay, here we go. The elves are pushing up, a bit unsupported, I will grant them, but there's not really enough to punish this. We have the elven general throwing himself forward, and then we, of course, have this elven shock infantry taking a brutal volley. Wow, them elves have lived for tens of thousands of years just to get killed like that. Man, wouldn't be me. But they're going to be able to get stuck in here and deal with these guys quite quickly. Obviously, with the support of the pikes as well, that's going to be a big help. And there's just so much extra infantry on this right-hand side. The cavalry, it can pose all it wants. It's not going to do much. Now these crossbows can maybe start opening up. You need this infantry, like, reinforcements are coming, but this is a big map, and being delayed that much is really putting them on the line. Yeah, you can already start to see. Now the pikes are down. The infantry are just getting stuck in. And as much as the Gondorians are putting up a good fight, they are no match for these elves who are just cutting through them bit by bit. And the pikes, obviously, with the reinforcement behind, can be able just to absolutely demolish them. And I think this Gondorian army is going to start to crumble. Cavalry is even being pushed around right here because they have all the infantry here. Like, what can these guys do? And now J.R.R are moving all the way back around to reinforce this. This is such a nice move. Seizing the opportunity, realizing that the forces of Dunland are so far away and all that cavalry is a mile away. They might as well be in another battlefield. And then quickly rushing your forces over here is going to be really good. Because normally, if this was happening, you just try and pull your forces out. But the thing is, you know, Gondor are already engaged right here. And the fact that they're already engaged means they can't run away. There's crossbows, there's archers, and they've been left out to dry. I'm not going to lie. And even though they are taking down a few brave warriors from Dorwino and the surrounding factions, there is just barely any elves dead on the floor. And there is a lot of men of Gondor. But then again, it does serve them right for abandoning the forces of good and siding with the evil armies. So there you go. Oh, big cavalry engagements though. The Knights of the Silver Swan. No, these are mounted knights. The Knights of the Silver Swan are still maneuvering around right here. But this is the thing. And you know, with some more Knights of the Silver Swan actually engaged now, pulling out that sword, dropping the lance. And again, they're just heavily armored. They're going to slaughter these. But this is also one of the big things as well. As they're about to get another beautiful rear charge. Beautiful stuff right there. But the thing is, like, you know, the forces of good can commit infantry to this cavalry fight way quicker. They can obviously get these pikes in here. They can reinforce with missiles. Whereas, again, you can see a lot of the evil infantry are rushing over here. And they're going to try and get here, but with cavalry charges just tearing through them and other factors, this, you know, these forces of evil are struggling. Granted, I'm surprised how well the mounted swords are doing. Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Gondorian Cav. Like, they're doing a pretty good job. They've broken the Sentinels of Dorwino and are not really scratching the Knights of the Silver Swan, but still, like, they're pinning this down and I guess allowing more time for reinforcements. The Eastlings have really good cavalry as a thing as well. And that Bands of Power Bar, like, isn't dramatically against them, even though one side has basically been run over and is now just simply being cleaned up. And yeah, the Bands of Power Bar is, I would say, still in favor of the enemy slightly. And there you go. That elf's just like, yeah, we're done here. Scurry off, you mortal fool. And yeah, I mean, again, this force is, by the time it gets here as well, it's going to be tired. Whereas a lot of the infantry here are going to be able to rest now, get their energy back and prepare themselves. The elves have plenty of ammunition left. This is definitely a very scrappy battle. And the thing is, a lot of the forces of good cavalry is now engaged, so there is an opportunity to now start to come around, but these pikes are shielding pretty effectively, and there is spearmen scattered throughout the swamplands. Oh my god, look at all these debugged soldiers as well. Yeah, I mean, they're chilling. They're definitely chilling. They're hitting that gunman style. But it's not going to be enough. There's another charge of the Knights of the Silver Swan, smashing into the heavily armored Dunland soldiers. And going to pull out of that battle quite quickly. The cavalry is arriving. But yeah, these guys are now basically fully rested after that couple minutes of rest. And the pikes, unfortunately, got put down just in time, pushing back the Dorwino units. I love the horse gambesons as well. That looks great. It really does. The Marauders have done a great job with that. And now we are turning into much more of a scrappy fight as they are now surrounded. Like, they've basically wiped out one player, but again, balance of power is still very even. And they are surrounded. That is the thing. They are pushed back. If I were the Forces of Good right now, I would just smash everything I have forward and I would try and wipe this out and then get ready to turn the tides. Because, as you can see, J.R.R can basically hold this rear position quite nicely. Oh, it does seem like one of the generals have gone down, though. Is that the Elven general, maybe? Yeah, I think the Elven general has just been slain. Oh, no, because he's on foot. Yeah, I'm actually not sure. Yeah, there's the Elven general right there. There's Elrond himself, actually. Oh, yeah, in his red armor, of course. There you go. We'll zoom in. Elrond making himself known on the battlefield, limping by the looks of it. Needs some of that extra healing. And there you go. Oh, my God. J.R.R going in for a little charge. I mean, he's managed to catch the Eastling Cavalry off guard. Granted, the Eastling Cavalry is going to be able to surround them now. But, I mean, if they commit more infantry, like, yeah, I mean, this is a good plan. Go and pin them down and then bring up your infantry. It's never a bad plan of action whatsoever. They have a lot of javelins. There's reinforcements of the elves and Dorwino coming. I mean, again, I mean, the thing is as well, these forces are still really far away. They're delayed. They need to arrive. And, you know, whilst they're moving, like, the forces of evil have a perfect amount of balance of power. It's just none of their pieces are in position. That's what I'm saying. They're so scattered. And these guys are united under one front, able to throw back the attackers pretty effectively. And even the weakened mounted Knights of J.R.R are putting up a very good fight. Just goes to show how effective that charge was, able to turn a battle that shouldn't really go in their favor into going into their favor. And then we go again, some of these raiders going in. Now, I can't imagine the Dunlands have great melee cavalry. Again, this seems like much more of like a skirmish cavalry. They weaken with the axes and then they get stuck in. And it's just constant harassment right now. Over on the left-hand side, Elrond has now pulled out his blade, hopefully put away his limp, and is engaging some of the heavy Galag Wardens. As I mentioned, the elves are no easy fight. And I think this is, of course, Elrond's elite bodyguard. Can we see if we can find Elrond in here? Try and pick out the dude in big red armor. I mean, to be fair, most of the elves are in red armor now, covered in blood. No, I can't see him. But he must be here somewhere, unless he did get sniped by an arrow. And it does look very awesome indeed. How's the left flank looking? Yeah, I mean, pretty well. Again, more soldiers are being committed. We have the general right here of the Easterlings, along with a unit of shock infantry. And it's just cavalry engaged. Like, these are just big old brawls. People are just committing everything they've got left into these fights and hoping for the best. Well, I like the maces as well. That's kind of a nice touch on them cavalry. You don't really see many maces in the movies. I think the orcs use like clubs and stuff. An actual like hand mace, I feel like you don't really see much. Maybe in like Auxilius, but that's kind of like a hammer, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys know the exact scene I'm talking about when that dude's chest gets caved in. Yeah, more of like a club than anything else, like that other cavalryman was wielding. Finally! Holy, the rest of the Dunland forces have now arrived. As I said, I think these are Dunland. They could not be. I guess we'll find out at the end of the battle. They're met with a staunch shield wall. And as the soldiers fight in the reeds, I have to imagine J.R.R are born for this. They are a sailors' nation, so just fighting in a little bit of water will be no different for them. I think these are literally called Marines maybe as well. Yeah, they're literally Marines, so if anything, this should definitely support them. We have another unit moving in right here. It will help just to back up that flank, keep it nice and secure. The arrow fire is coming in, but there is a pretty big clumped up position here. But the Hillman Hunters are getting hammered by something. Maybe with the dual armor from Marine Archers, maybe are hitting them. Yeah, they are. And that's going to be whittling them down the heavier armor as the arrows fly. And you can see they're going to have to pull out of range. Yeah, there's just no armor on these guys whatsoever. And that's actually enough to break them. The main battle line is slowly getting enveloped as Forces of Good try and reinforce as best as they can. The cavalry basically is acting as a stop block right now. But this force is mainly just here. to hold the line until reinforcements arrive from the other side, because they are being cleaned up right now, and that balance of power is slowly starting to shift. We all expected it to happen, and it now has. As I said, there is still a handful of soldiers here racking up kills. These War Dog Riders have 165 kills now, which is pretty impressive. 65 on the other unit of archers. But there's just like a pretty deadly mass right here. And even with the arrows coming in, and the cavalry outflanking, maneuvering around, it's just not going to be enough. There's just too much here, I think. But then again, Dawnless could break. Like, these two units are getting very close to breaking. The right-hand side is holding the line. The Knights of the Silver Swan proving their worth this day and going toe-to-toe with, you know, an unsuperior cavalry. They're also supported by Prince Guard Coast Guards as well. But if this left flank does crumble, it's going to leave them a big gaping hole. They have one unit of reserves they can commit to this, but they do need to be careful. And I'm pretty impressed, honestly, with how well this faction is dealing with Dawnless, who are obviously considered a very, very strong faction. And they're, of course, fighting like a halberd unit as well, which is normally impenetrable by the front. But they are cutting through them bit by bit. So this unit they're going up against must have some form of like anti-armor to break them. More reinforcements, the javelins, marine skirmishes coming in, but it might not be enough. The Prince's Coast Guard have now been outflanked, and I think that's the general. Yeah, one of the generals. Whether that is the Dawnless general, who I think it might be, has now just been slain. And they are pulling back now. The archers doing a great job of just kiting, keeping everything alive. Because the balance of power bar is now right back to normal. I mean, they outnumber them by almost 1,500 men. But the balance of power bar is like, nah, you're good. And the flank does crush. The reserves come flying in. But is it too late? Is it too late? Can a mass rout win them this day? The cavalry fight seems like it has now gone in favor of the forces of evil. And even though this side was completely surrounded and has been broken, the cavalry is still causing huge harassments. You can see the Eastling cavalry, the Aka Chosen, supported by friendly horses, are just kind of picking off these weakened Vinland Saga, these Vineland Guard. And I imagine they'll then go into the back of these guys as well to help reinforce them. And these are the elite expensive units as well, so losing them is pretty bad. But the elves, what remains of their forces, are moving in. Yeah, this is going to be a much closer battle than I thought. But how's the morale looking? Oh yeah, that could be it though. The morale is starting to drop. But, you know, these Dawnless skirmishes are not great, but they're seemingly winning. Oh man, you just need like something. This cavalry needs to be activated, charged back in. It could honestly turn the tide. Then, again, we also have this line of staunch Elven mercenaries fighting for Duino. And they're going to be able to protect these crossbows who are going to probably see out this day. The cavalry has now been hit. And the front line is starting to break. I would imagine we're about to get a mass rout now. There seems like there's just a little bit too much. Honestly, though, I'm truly impressed. Some good cavalry charges now. Able to get stuck in. And actually able to break these guys from the side. Unfortunately, though, it's just a little bit too late. I think the forces of evil could have easily won this battle if they weren't just so delayed. Unfortunately, the swamps are a cruel mistress, and making your way over here, it just slowed them out a little bit more. And as you can see, there's not that much left, you know. A lot of these units could quite easily be broken. And there was some really nice play there with the cavalry towards the end of the battle as well. But I think we're going to be getting a GG momentarily. Either these units are going to mass rout, or this players are just going to go ahead and call it right there, because there's just too much infantry left on the field of battle. And I think that's going to do it. Yep, that's going to exactly do it. So let's jump over to the kills, because I'm interested to see what faction got so many kills out of all of them. So yeah, of course, we'll start off with Dawnless, because their cavalry, I mean, the cavalry didn't do that crazy. Obviously, the mounted knights did the most damage. And look at that, 300 kills on the marine skirmishers is pretty impressive. Imrahil only 79, and he did lose his life as well. So pretty embarrassing if you ask me. Over on Duino, again, this is a faction we didn't really see much in that battle. I feel like they didn't really do so much, but they also had a decent amount left in the end. And then finally, we also have the elves. You always expect the elves to get a lot of kills, because because their units are so expensive, but that comes with quality, and that cavalry proves it. Even Elrond with 200 kills, not so bad. Over on the other side of things, no real standout unit. Yeah, this faction just got absolutely left to die, basically. In the center, we had a pretty sturdy defense. The Eastlings did nice with their heavy cavalry forces. And then finally, the Rundar. So I guess he's like Eastern men, then maybe, that aren't Eastlings. Could be. Maybe like in between Dorwino and Amber West and the Eastlings, I guess, maybe. And again, they did surprisingly good. Their infantry held the line. Pretty impressive nonetheless. If you guys enjoyed this battle, we'll wrap things up now. Make sure to drop a like and a comment down below if you want to see more Rise of Mordor on the channel, Dawnless Days. By that, I mean, make sure to let me know. See you guys in the next one.